Okay, nistuanna ka natuutsassi annorka nuksi noksimahkakkian nakitsaniippuissan haamo utawatsipurtu'pua haamo iiksiiku haamo nortsimahkakkia nakitsaniippuissa haasi iskuhtsika kiikoeks ninnaaks sarkumaapiiks aassainnakuimmiksi annorka anniksait nuhtuutu nakitsitspumihtaan. I'm honored today to come and help out in, I guess, in this awareness of missing and murdered women. I don't have a female relative that has been, but my older brother had gone missing and assumed to be murdered, and so it's been several years. I think 9 years. This June's going to be 9 years, and it's still very fresh, like it was yesterday. So it's not going to be easy for me to talk about it. We still grieve for him. My nieces and nephews have been very dysfunctional over the death of my brother. And today, my brother's home, no one occupies it from his family, his children, grandchildren. They've all become very dysfunctional and have moved away, living in the city. They don't come back to visit us. So it's very difficult. I'm going to say a little prayer to help me, and for those of you out there that are listening, to help you too, to deal with this situation in our communities that we go through these difficult things. Aio stipatapio, paiki tsiiksematsemapaki noksiskanatani, ogikenoch atakoika. No hatspumukitakian hamo taksi potopa. Nagoksipu taspumotsih benananikaki. Nanestkoich benan no siksikau. Hokikaksi no kite hitsitapio. No hatsitsipa anno hatanestokoi. Hokikitakok tasukimaks benan. Ni tasaitseni katu benan annikakin. Ni taatstannan. Hakaikaka tapiokaki. Se tapiiminnaaniksaki annikaki maanestokkoihpia. Hokikaki kassawaaniopaki. Annikaki akohkaassiistonaapi annikaki simsin. Kiasi makaapiisaki. Outsi piski tekkin ohkujopaki. Anniskaka akohtaassiistonaapiihpaki. Aatsimuihkanenne niitukska. Ihtäsokimuksoupaki, ihtäskonataapio, annikaki, aapoutsiipaki, annekin ohtsen ihkatsematopaki, ihtsipäätäpio. Oki maanisteikamotsiipiukin nään sukaapio nikaki, nagohkaisen ihkiipia. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the healing and how we heal about things like this today. And our ancestors, before we had contact with outsiders. And so maybe I'll start there. These kind of stuff didn't just happen today. They've been with our people since the time of contact from non-native people. And before that, our people had raided each other from tribe to protect our territories. And so that's why today we have relatives all over the place, not only in Blackfoot country, but in other territories such as the Crows, such as the Cheyennes, even to the west, to the people in BC, and then the Crees down up north and down east. We raided each other in battles between our territories. And so we have situations where women were taken from our communities and taken to another community and never did return back to our people. Even though they had children here, their children were left abandoned. And today we talk about those children as being elderly children and orphans. And so in those days, the children were given to an elderly woman or an elderly couple, and they became minipukeks, kipitepukeks. And those children became very special to these elders. Kaaksin oniksaki. Ikoka kiennakaki kipitepuk. Ki ihbästäwättäjä atsemuihkaan. Hannaka omakitapiu aukaki pia miksi kipitepukeks. Mattanesteinihkataja immaksini. The immaksini means orphan in our language. And they're orphaned from their parents. So when they become that status as an orphan, it doesn't mean that they're pitiful. It means that they're going to gain knowledge, special knowledge that a normal child will not gain at a certain age. Maybe about 10 years old. A child that has knowledge at that time, this orphan child will have special knowledge that a normal child wouldn't have. And at that time, the knowledge that they gain will bring them through, because at adulthood, when they become adults, they don't need guidance from older ones. They already been given that knowledge. So a normal child, when they become of age, they seek knowledge from their elders, from their parents, their relatives. And so with that, they're very special children. Today it's difficult, it's different, it's not the same. And so we left that era from after or before contact to today, very different. And so, and then we talk about grieving. Grieving is very different today. Today we have this Western or modern way of grieving. Today we grieve with money. We grieve in that new style of having a funeral, a wake. And back in the day, there was no such thing. When a person passes, you are only allowed to grieve for 4 days. And in most cases, on the day of the passing of an individual, that person is taken to be buried. And then within the 4 days, they go through a cleansing ceremony. Cleansing ceremonies to carry on with your ceremonial ways. When in the Blackfoot way of believing, when a person loses a loved one, he or she is no longer can participate in ceremonies because of our belief of that death spirit. And so back in the day, they go through a cleansing ceremony. I tässä kiutsia iskuhtik mata kumanis makisam papuksami oitsaapi annioka aatstaaniki kita kumimihtaaniki aatsaaniki kita itajohkimaja niin suiksitsikoi kita issia kiutsia ihtaskuutsimmiau tamatuussimaanua utatsumuihkaanua anne hostoan anne ni tawattuuja kennoksissikoieka johkiitsio sikiks matattassiakiutsiueksa äkstamaatstaja ki maanistopaapuauhkaaja ojitsaappia matatsittassiakiutsiueksa kenihkaukanihka ikuika ni päätäpiissanakai akajaapi päätäpio matatapawattoupannihka kaarsennoniksuustoa manestaapitapia kenhe noksissikoik iktaikaasukaniumarkitapiiks anne ihtoako ojitsaapi matartitohkaapio aakstamorkassiakiutsia ihtsoatte ihtässiistonaapia muhka saippumaapi ikako istsiistumsen mat saippumaapi oogikama sahkumaapin aagitakkarsio kenne mat saippumaapi i puursen mat saippumaapi anihkaukanihka ihtassiakiutsia maatajamartsitassiakiutsia amma agitaatsta ihtassiakiutsiopa magohtumaanistaassukaapis kiksemstannon kisiitamsinnon kuustumminnon akitsoorkussoupa akkumaanista iissukaapi kisiitamsinnon kitskaataksinnon kitamatuussimmannon ihtaskunataapi ihtsoe aamuk ihtsootsipukau ikuik annestskoka kaarsinnoneksa ihtassiakiutsia ammaakitsataapsatsia issaippumipuatsia kemmat aksanmi ogikidakaappassiakiursatuupanik saippumipuursin siktakannokku nannestsitsipsakku kääsamssiakiursia takia kaaksimiu kääkitamatuusma kitassiakiutsia kitaistapitsimmuhka saippumaapi kenneinen ustoas kohtsik ikitumei takia muhka issiakiursin kennaksissikoik anhaamu noutsipukau istsiistumsen kislonnoon maatsetutaapihpaaki no tupami ipukau apataamstsinimmäks anniksaawania annumaihtuutsipukau ouki kennerkiislonnoon sam annuuksahku samortakanaajissinaajaamorka istsiistumsen samortakanaa iissiistonaappi annikaa kiinnoqanistaappassouppaaki eku puupak kerkissinissaakin ihka istsiistumsen we don't want to be affected by this pandemic. We say that it comes from overseas and it's affected every country all over the world. Kennohkistunnon kaarsinnoneks ikohtsissinarpiarmorka umarkapiksin niitaanihkatuup. They experienced this kind of thing in the past, the smallpox. Smallpox was one of those stuff that hit our people. It's nothing new to us. Our ancestors experienced that. Devastating losses. And today, the very thing that they turned to was their spiritual ways, their beliefs. And now is to turn to the sacred bundles that were given to us as Blackfoot people. They made a vow. They made a vow to these sacred bundles so that this pandemic that hit them they'll overcome. They had losses, children, sometimes a whole family, a whole clan they lost. Imagine today if that happened to our people. We would be devastated like they were. But they didn't have nothing. They didn't have no doctors or nurses, medicine, to cure that. Their belief was to go back to their ways, their bundles, the ceremonies. And it was that their belief where they make a vow to these sacred things is what brought them through. And our ways as Blackfoot people, anything that is transferred from one man to another that has to do with face painting, a song, a dance, and those were very sacred things to our people. And so we had many societies at that time, sacred bundles that they turned to. Unfortunately, after the smallpox, we lost several of those societies. And today we say, our ancestors say, what we have left, we're pitiful people. And what we have left is what we turn to. And today it's difficult because we all don't speak our language. It's difficult when we don't understand. It's difficult when our people don't all follow the that was given to us from the Creator. We've bombarded from different ways of life, foreign stuff, or no more foreign. Our way of life is more foreign to our people today than the other stuff that were foreign one time. So today we go back to our religious beliefs, our legends that talk about working together. Makuyok suko. Some of you get skini pua muka at Siniksin, Makuyok suko, the wolf trail. That legend talks about our people working together and coming back. In that legend it tells you, sapik ay kukos, samuka kakatusiks, itkane na kuyimya kakatusiks. Am skapochtsich tuts, si mi amitochts, apatchsochts, itapkane innaksipui. Heitsikutskiana sui kakatusiks, annio kanihkaki, makuyohsuku itanikki oma makuyo. Minatte itsitapassik. Ohkanai kaakima tepuutsi kaakimoko. Kenne kiakkanista ohkuttumutsaa katupua kitsukitsihtaano. Ei taapassiniki kiakekinohkoi. Kitako punakipua. Kitako muutsuutspua. Oikeke ohkanaapassini. I tumanistsi kaakimanikoa kitaakskunataapspua. Kimata kattoo punakipua. Kimata kattoo muutsuutspua. Kitake kiikatupua sukaapi. Kuku sueks käkäsukista otawa. Kitum kitapimueks madakatteekin mataapsi ja akotuitsikata. Kitum kitapimueks. Kän ihkaukanihka makujuhsukku. Kän ksistikuik einnakuun nohkaumanista itumanista siikaa kimopsiksi kai. Ihtomanista sukaapia. Aamuske kaahsinnoniks häistämatsuukia. Ihtsapuu jakaita piitseniksist. Madat tohkane itumanista siikaa kimopitsi itaskopio. Itaukai sop naapiko eksuista ma naapiko nan manis siitsita pi ma naapiko. Madakistapa hukakiussatsia hutsita piimiksi. Usaasika kiitstaa makkoikamutaan. Kennekistonna matanista passop. Katso kiitsi asukania ma naapiko maakanista passi. Muksi niistä piikoiksi. Maaka iipuutas pummutsia. Ken ihkaukanikka makujohsuku. Madakono eitsin ihkau. Ihtuutsitapio. Haikaista päässukaapio. Nohkoista matsahpääki kukuussinnoon, kissukuussinnooniksi. Hanneskai hannoksiisti kuikaakin. Nohtuuttu kerrohatsit siis taps pummuhpua. Iksikkinapio eitsi taapassu. Käkite uuksissawaatsi jopa ispummuutsi iskapiimahkio. Anjai iktäsukaapas. Anna kaamu ihteippu jopaaki muuksiskaaki ässäinnakoimmiksi. Ei niittäiksi kitsitä piiminnooniksi. Iksikkinä pio häkitaatsto. Annoksista koi niin tukskai tohkoja istunnaa piikitsikkin niittäksen on aatsemuihkaan. Aatsemuihkaan enne ihtäsukimmakso. Annakannisto niissä itsestään ikataanesta. Niiske utakiikoa mitti tupukita puumio. Istanes sohts. Maatanes syksymistahpennaan annaakanestaapi. Se mikä kummattukskaasi. Taksku tännöstä spennaan akassa innakoim. Maataskenoja on manestapsa innakoi. Oikein noot sitä ponnaaps spennaan. Se tohkoskeniip. Se tohsinaan. Madon okamu tän juonniksi. Noksiisti koik. Tsimmäskenonnaan niis. Utäissäinä kui. Iksiiko käkit sanoo skeniipu. Äkit sanoo ohtsimata väkohkuunnoa. Äksikok tässoksiita miopa. Iskeno ainakin maa. Kitsitä piiminnoa naamokaa. Kiakutu jaaki. Säkenhanistonnaan. Ei tomi pihksystoja. Madomekak kunnoannaan. Anja ikatsiiko. Ikke oitsemmaa kanääksistikus. Kanääkuukus sääkö oitsemmaa. Nokka noinkin. Omak kannohsinnikä. Sitä piiminnään. Eikö sekin tohkan nohpinnaan. Mä sit oitsemmannaan. Nukuussiksi täkitäin onnaan. Ossukuussiksi. Mä sit oitsemmannaan niis. Anneikriiko. The part of the grief of this mission and murder. One day my brother said he was going to go to BC to go visit with his girlfriend. And they took off one day, not knowing that was going to be the last time we're going to hear from him. And he went to BC. Few days later, we get a call that he went missing. And so some of my siblings, we took off. We went to BC. We get there was no answers. We had all kinds of questions, but none of our questions were being answered by the people of Kamloops, that tribe there in Kamloops, the police, the investigators, no answers. So it was tough for us. And I know all these people that suffer these. I know how it is, as I mentioned in my language. Family gatherings, family picnics, even grieving for other relatives that passed. We think about our brother. We'll never see him again. And it's tough. We see his children, his grandchildren, and it's very hard to go through that. And we grieve at night. We grieve in the morning. We want to have some kind of closure to this, but it's tough. And but it's, as I keep mentioning, our ways, being spiritual, that's what keeps us strong. My mother is up there in age, and we worry about her. She often breaks down and cries and calls my brother's name. And those are difficult. And it's not easy to see my sister. I was posting his picture on Facebook. I was talking about my brother. So those stuff we know. We're not the only ones. We're not alone. We have relatives and friends that have gone through that. And there's the only way that helps us is Atsumuikan, is turning to God and our spiritual ways, smudging, praying. And as I mentioned in my stories about our people in the past, they made vows. They made vows to our spiritual ways, and that's what brought them through. One of the most famous things that our people did every time they made a vow, and I would say the treaty was a big thing that hit our people. Unknown. We didn't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And so our people turned to our ways. And today we have one of the strongest treaties because of our people always turn to our spiritual ways. And today we're losing that. We're turning, as I say, our own ways are being foreign to us. Our children don't even know these. Our children don't know the spiritual ways, the legends of our people. If they were taught those, our children would follow our ways, but they don't. They don't know these things. And so today we turn to other things that were foreign to our ancestors. Those are our power today. And so I want to thank the Charging Home program for asking me to come. And it's not easy to share about these things. It's difficult. And I just wanted to thank all of you for taking this time and helping not only our people, but people from other communities, because we're not the only ones that go through this. We all go through this. Even when we know our friends or relatives, we pray together. We pray for each other so that we give each other strength through our spiritual ways. And so, like I mentioned, that this is probably the first time I'm ever going to speak public about my experience with this. But the only thing that brings me through is my spiritual ways, my connection with God, and and my family. My family are a very strong spiritual family. When I get weak, when I turn to my family to help me, and so I'm not ashamed to talk about my relationship with God. I have a close relationship with God. I pray every day. Not only when I need help, I pray every day, and that's what helps me. I grew up with my grandmother. She gets up in the morning, opens the curtains, and she stands in front of her window and she prays. Every day I heard her prayer as a child. And sometimes her prayers were so, she would cry in her prayers. And I remember that. And I remember when it came to ceremonies, she made vows to the Horn Society, to the Motokis, to the medicine pipe. She made vows for her children, her grandchildren. She always said, I don't see my children every day, but I pray for them and I'm concerned for them. And that is the reason why our ancestors made vows. It wasn't for them. They were concerned about their children and grandchildren. And so today I want to share that the things that I do, I'm involved with Atsumuikan, ceremonial ways. I don't do that for me. I'm concerned about my relatives out there too. Siksika. We have lots of stuff that we face every day. And today, I feel good that I spoke a little bit about to help each other out on this. Again.
Siksika.